Anxiety basically is when you've got too many thoughts running through your mind and you don't know how to handle them all. I mean, in this modern world that we live in, we have so many distractions, definitely from a technological point of view. We've got so many balls that we need to keep in the air, we've got so many thoughts that are going through our mind, that there is no wonder that probably about 1/5 of the population is dealing with some sort of anxiety or stress-related condition. So in this modern day and age that we live in, you got your Facebook, you got your Twitters, you got your emails, you got your news websites. You're constantly getting notifications, and then you got the different apps that you're using as well. And I feel like the human brain doesn't know how to handle firstly switching between so many different topics or platforms. And as a result, we just get more and more confused and, of course, more and more anxious. They've done studies out there, and they've measured people's stress and anxiety levels before they look at their email or before they check their social media accounts. And there's a noticeable increase, not only in cortisol levels from a physiological point of view, but also just in terms of their self-reported stress. People don't know how to handle multiple different things at the one time. So you might ask, well, what is the answer? And the answer actually is to do one or maybe two things and go deep on that one or two things for an hour, for half an hour, and then you move on to the next thing. This is also what is referred to as chunking. So there are actually technological apps out there where you can sort of use technology kind of against technology, but for the benefit of yourself. So for example, if you are worried about going onto the computer every day and checking your email and being distracted from all these things that stops you from getting on with your work, you can use this app called Freedom, for example. It's about $20 a year, where you can say, for the next 2 hours, I want to ban myself from these websites, whatever they might be for you, so that you can focus on your work for that time. And then when you've finished your work, then if you want to check your email or check the news websites or whatever, you can do that. Now it's interesting for phone management, because we have cameras on our phones, we have Google Maps on our phones, we have a whole bunch of things on our phones now. You can't simply say, I want to turn off my phone because I don't want to be distracted by it. But the other problem is you have your phone and then you go to take a photo, for example, and next thing you know, you're checking your Facebook status or whatever else. So there's this other app, it's called Off Time. And basically, as I said, it uses technology against technology, so that you can say, these are my good apps, so to speak, that I need to be using. And it might be Google Maps and say your camera, for example. But everything else I want to be blocked for during this off time. Say it might be a 2-hour period when you need to be doing a piece of work, or you might be wanting to interact with your husband or your wife. And this is how you kind of get around this sort of technological piece. So what we recommend generally is that you have chunks of time during the day where you do different things. For example, if you want to check your email or you want to go on Facebook, spend an hour, spend 2 hours max every day where you do that type of stuff. And then for the rest of the day, you're kind of in off time, so to speak, where you can go deep with that, that project that you need to be doing, that film project, or the socializing that you need to be doing with your friends, or whatever it might be. And as things come up during the day where you go, oh, I do need to make that phone call, or I do need to send that email, instead of doing that in the moment, you just make a note for yourself. So you'll have like a list, which you can attach to your phone or your computer, or you can even do it a handwritten list. So when you get to that hour or 2 hours in the day where you need to be doing your admin, you know what you need to be doing, and you'll almost create deep work doing your administration, because you just go from phone call to phone call, email to email, and you feel like you're being productive and you're solving things. And this is the great first step for living a little bit more in the moment and helping you to manage anxiety in this modern world. So mindfulness is this buzzword that was probably been around for centuries. I guess it's a Buddhist word originally, but Western psychology has kind of adapted parts of it to the modern world, especially for helping people to deal with anxiety. But essentially, it's helping people to live more in the moment. Now, a lot of people think mindfulness is I've got to meditate for a couple hours a day, I've got to be some sort of Zen yogi, but it's actually not about that at all. And mindfulness can come across in so many different ways. It could be when you're skiing, it could be when you're doing a report, it could be when you're having a deep conversation with a friend. Of course, it can be when you're meditating as well. But I don't want you to think that it can only be when you are sitting alone in a room quietly by yourself and focusing on your breath, meditating. And even if you are doing meditation for say 20 minutes a day, people think, well, that's all I have to do. And then they go back to their busy life, and then they get anxious, so that they need to do that reset the following day. The people who are the most mindful are the ones who, yes, you might start your day meditating, but they've really got a really clear daily routine or structure. I mentioned before around having, doing administration or looking at emails or Facebook for an hour or 2 hours every day. But they have a clear structure and routine that they follow in the day. So they might minimize their media consumption, for example. They might make sure that they socialize with other people and make sure that obviously they get their work done by doing some deep work. It can also mean what you eat and what sort of stuff you put into your body. These are all things that influence states of mindfulness. And if people can understand this, then I think they're going to be a lot more mindful throughout the day. One of the first things that I get any client to do who comes to me for anxiety or depression or stress or whatever psychological problem is I get them to talk me through their daily routines, and so that I can understand how they structure their day. So if you can get through one day, I guess, in a happy, stress-free manner, then you can get through a week, and then you can get through a year, and then you can get through a lifetime, essentially. So daily routines are so important. And I really get them to map out the first 60 to 90 minutes of their day to begin with. So what time do they wake up? What do they do after they wake up in the morning? And what I recommend is people obviously wake up and not lie too long in bed after they wake up in the mornings, assuming they've had a decent night's sleep the night beforehand. Because we find that it's probably the first 10 or 20 minutes of just lying in bed without actually getting out of bed is when we can start to feel anxiety or start to feel a little bit of these depressive thoughts. So we can get around that by obviously getting out of bed, and then avoiding the temptation to check your phone or to turn the TV on and see what's on the news. Obviously have some type of food for the morning is a good thing, and then you have a shower. There are some people out there who actually choose to have a cold shower in the mornings as a way of stimulating their central nervous system. Obviously exercise before you start the day is a good thing to do, but just having some type of routine in the first 60 to 90 minutes of your mornings, a good start. Having a very clear work uniform, or knowing what sort of clothes you're going to wear, sort of takes away that extra decision in the morning. Doesn't seem like an important thing, but it all adds up. And then you start your day. You might do your commute, you might drive in your car, you might catch the train. I recommend on your commute to work, for example, or your commute to university or school, to stimulate your mind in some way through listening to a podcast that might be interesting, or to do some meditation. There are a lot of meditation apps out there on your phone now, and really to avoid talkback radio or news programs or listening to a lot of ads on the radio, which really don't stimulate your mind at all. And then you go into your work day, and people's work days vary, and we just recommend generally minimizing emails, social media, technology, and trying to do some deep work, whether that be talking to colleagues or doing a project. And then at the end of the day, it's very much about switching off and coming home from work and not taking the work home with you. So some people choose to go to the gym, other people choose to listen to some interesting music that really just gets you in a happy and non-serious headspace, so that when you do get home, you can interact with your friends or roommates or your wife or your husband or your kids, so that you can slowly sort of get yourself ready for bed, and of course you can turn your mind off at the end of the day. Now on this point, make sure you don't have too much screen time at the end of the day, and you're not sort of eating too much food or sweets that will sort of keep you up. And this is a good daily routine that you can follow.